The column of black smoke rising from Statesville Regional Airport wasn't just a signal of a tragedy. It was a beacon that shattered the heart of the American racing world. Tuesday, December 18th, 2025. A day that began with holiday anticipation ended in a field of fire that no fire crew could suppress in time. Inside the wreckage of a Cessna Citation, 7 souls are gone. Among them, a man who spent his life cheating death at 200 miles per hour on the asphalt tracks of NASCAR. But up here, in the unforgiving gray soup of a North Carolina winter morning, physics does not care about championships. When the engines stopped, gravity took over, and in the silence that followed, a question began to haunt the investigators arriving on the scene. How does a machine built for safety, flown by experts, simply fall out of the sky moments after takeoff? To understand the shockwave ripping through the aviation community, you have to understand the man in the left seat, Greg Biffle, the Biff, a legend of the Roush Fenway era, a champion in the Truck Series, the Xfinity Series, and a 19-time winner in the Cup Series. He was known for his precision, his aggression, his ability to control a machine at the ragged edge of adhesion. But Greg wasn't just a driver who bought a plane for convenience, he was an aviator, a man who respected the mechanics of flight just as much as the mechanics of a Ford V8. He understood systems, he understood risk, which makes the wreckage of N257BW even harder to comprehend. The aircraft was a Cessna 550 Citation II, tail number November 2, 57 Bravo Whiskey. In the world of business jets, the Citation II is the workhorse. It is the Ford F-150 of the skies. Simple, robust, capable of getting into short fields and climbing high above the weather. It is a pilot's airplane, straight wings, forgiving stall characteristics. But it is also an older jet. It lacks the computerized safety nets of modern fly-by-wire Airbuses. In a Citation, if something goes wrong, the computer doesn't save you. You save yourself. On this morning, the manifest was full. It wasn't just a business trip, it was family. Beside Greg was his wife, Christina. In the back, his daughter, Emma. His son, Ryder. And joining them up front was Dennis Dutton, an experienced pilot, a steady hand. 7 lives packed into a pressurized aluminum tube, preparing to leave Statesville for a short hop. The destination was insignificant. The journey was supposed to be routine. But as any investigator will tell you, the most dangerous phase of flight isn't the cruise. It isn't the landing. It is the transition. That critical moment when a heavy machine leaves the earth, fighting for lift, fighting for airspeed, hanging on the precipice of a stall. Statesville, North Carolina. The weather is not good. Reports indicate a low ceiling, mist, drizzle. These are what pilots call instrument meteorological conditions, or IFR. You cannot fly by looking out the window. You must trust your gauges. For a crew like Biffle and Dutton, this is standard. They have done this hundreds of times. But low visibility adds a layer of insidious danger. If an engine fails, you can't see the horizon to stabilize. If a sensor lies, your inner ear will trick you into a death spiral. As they taxied to the runway, the mood would have been focused. Checklists, flaps set, trims set. The voices on the radio were calm. No one knew that a catastrophic failure was already waiting in the wings, ticking down to 0. 10:18 a.m. The engines of the Citation spool up. 2 Pratt & Whitney turbofans screaming at full power. The brakes release. The jet accelerates down the wet runway of Statesville Regional. V1. Rotate. V2. The nose lifts. The wheels leave the tarmac. For a few seconds, it is a perfect departure. The gear comes up. The flaps are retracted. They pierce the bottom of the cloud layer, vanishing into the gray void. But then, the routine shatters. We do not have the cockpit voice recorder yet, but we know the geometry of the crash. Moments after takeoff, something happens. Perhaps a master caution light flashes amber. Perhaps the aircraft yaws violently to the left. A call is made. They are returning. In aviation, a return immediately after takeoff is the most desperate maneuver a pilot can attempt. It means the situation is so dire that the risk of a low-altitude turn outweighs the risk of continuing. This is the impossible turn. You are low, you are heavy, and if you have lost an engine, you are bleeding energy with every degree of bank. Imagine the cockpit. The stick shaker might be vibrating, warning of a stall. The horizon is gone, hidden by fog. Biffle and Dutton are fighting physics. They need airspeed, but they also need to turn back to the runway. To turn, you must bank. To bank, you lose lift. To compensate, you pull back on the yoke. But pulling back increases drag. It is a deadly trap. Witnesses on the ground hear the engines. They don't sound right. Surging. Or perhaps silence. The aircraft emerges from the mist, not lined up for a smooth landing, but struggling. It is low, too low. The wings wobble, the nose drops. This is the classic signature of a VMC rollover or an accelerated stall. The pilot runs out of rudder authority. The plane stops flying and starts falling. 10:20 a.m. The Citation impacts the ground near the departure end of the runway. The violence is absolute. Fuel tanks rupture instantly. The kinetic energy of a 10,000-pound jet hitting the earth tears the airframe apart. A fireball erupts, visible for miles. The emergency services are there within minutes, but the intensity of a jet fuel fire is merciless. There is no rescue. There is only the aftermath. In the silence that follows the extinguishing of the flames, the reality sets in. Greg, Christina, Emma, Ryder, Dennis, Jack, Craig. Gone. Within hours, the National Transportation Safety Board launches a Go Team. They cordon off the blackened scar on the North Carolina soil. This is not just a crash site. It is a crime scene where physics is the suspect. They will map every piece of debris. They will photograph every switch position. But in these early hours, the world is asking why. And this is where the danger of speculation begins. Whenever a Citation crashes in winter, the armchair experts immediately scream one word: ice. It is the first false lead we must be cautious of. Yes, it was drizzling. Yes, it was cold. The Citation's wing is efficient, but it hates ice. Even a layer as thick as sandpaper can reduce lift by 30%. But Greg Biffle was a professional. He knew this. The Citation II has boots, pneumatic de-icing systems on the leading edges. To assume they simply forgot to turn them on is to insult their experience. Structural icing is a slow killer. It creeps up on you. This accident happened fast, immediately after takeoff. That points away from ice and towards something more catastrophic. Theory number 2, the engine failure. A catastrophic turbine failure on takeoff is the nightmare scenario. If the left engine explodes at V1, the aircraft wants to twist into the ground. The pilot must slam on the right rudder. But here is the catch. If they were turning back, they would likely turn into the live engine to maintain lift. If they turned into the dead engine, the loss of lift is instantaneous. Did they lose an engine and try to stretch the glide back to the runway? Or did a mechanical linkage break, locking the controls? These are the questions the NTSB will answer by analyzing the slinger rings and the actuator jack screws in the wreckage. The truth lies in the data. Investigators will pull the flight memory. They will listen to the ATC tapes. But for now, we are left with the human cost. Greg Biffle spent a career driving fast, but he lived slow. He loved the outdoors. He loved his family. The tragedy of N257BW is a reminder that aviation is a cruel mistress. It demands perfection every single time. You can win 19 cup races, You can be a hero to millions, but the air does not know your name. As the NASCAR community lowers its flags and the investigators begin the long work of reconstruction, we are left with the silence. A silence that speaks of a fragility we all share. Rest in peace, number 16. Your race is run.